Disclaimer at the very beginning of the video. Never is a title that represents a new series that I'm starting up, where I teach you how to deal with annoying and tricky characters, as I've already done with Jin. If you have any other characters that you'd like to see me create a guide on, I've already been requested Eddie, Lars, Zhao Yu, which I absolutely plan on getting around to, when college doesn't make me want to keep myself safe. I must clarify that especially with Dragunov, there is no such thing as never losing when it comes to fighting Dragunov. However, I will be giving you the best tips to help you understand Dragunov and the steps that you can take to start really making a Dragunov player work for their win, as much as you can make a Dragunov player work. Let's get into it. In general, if you choose to sidestep Dragunov, sidestepping to your right will beat most of the moves that you can step, and is a great baseline, especially if you're not used to stepping moves normally. Sidestep right beats out Sneak 4, Down Forward 2, While Running 2, and just about all of his other really scary moves that he has, outside of Down 2, which can't really be sidestepped in general. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into Down 2 counterplay and how you can get around this move. The first and most important thing to know about Dragunov's Down 2 is that it's +1 on hit for you. This means that anything that he might try to do after, while standing moves, etc. is technically not true and you can interrupt it. The move's -13 as well, so if you're Kazuya or Eddie, make sure you are launching this move to get some good damage out of it. Down 2 is a very annoying move, but by itself, it really isn't anything other than obnoxious. Down 2 itself as a move is not really too scary, it's more just annoying. What is scary is the options that he has following after, and I'll break those down and how we can beat those for you. First things first, even if Down 2 hits you, you can still sidestep into the background. Well, technically sidewalk, because sidestepping will get clipped. Now, the reason why I say sidestep specifically into the background and not just sidestepping one side is depending on if you're P1 or P2, it doesn't matter the side, it just simply means you want to always sidestep into the background no matter what. So even if you're on P2, even though you'd be sidestepping right instead of left technically, you'd still be sidestepping into the background and you can still get it. Another thing to note about this move, it's not just while rising 4 that you can beat out with Down 2. Actually, every single option from while rising you can beat from Down 2 on hit if you sidewalk it into the background. There's a couple of things that are nuanced and still will hit you no matter what. For instance, Down 2 into full crouch 1-4 will always hit you no matter how far you sidestep either way. And because they've given tracking property on grabs, that does mean that grabs do track as well, but just pay attention and you should be able to break them as well. Meaning that after Down 2, you can beat out every single option by sidewalking into the background and blocking low. Obviously, this won't beat out if he doesn't press anything, but go figure if he doesn't press anything, then it doesn't advantage or disadvantage you. Learning to sidewalk into the background and blocking low to beat out all of the options is a fantastic way of automatically shutting down any pressure Down 2 might give you. And while it'll be really hard to always beat out that option every single time, it's pretty easy early on in the ranks to figure out if somebody just likes doing full crouch 1-4 every single time after Down 2, and if they don't do it ever, then you can just kind of sidewalk it and punish anything else that he tries to throw out. Like I said earlier, don't even worry about trying to sidestep this move because it's not going to happen. No matter how far you get into the sidestepping, it's just always going to hit you both ways. Worry about either blocking and punishing this move or focusing on what he is doing after the move, because that's your telltale sign of when it is your time to act. Like I said earlier though, don't worry about trying to sidestep Down 2. It tracks both ways, and getting hit by the move is actually beneficial because it allows us to be able to beat out pretty much every option that a Dragunov might be able to throw out. Or, of course, block it, and if you're Kazuya or Eddie, you get a launch from it. I'll briefly talk about down back 3+4 because it's not really nearly as scary as it used to be. Before, it was only like -12 or something on block, but now it's staggerable so you can get a giant damage out of it. On top of that, even though it's quick, it technically is seeable. This goes very similar to anybody who saw my Jin video before. It is going to be quick, but because the animation is so unique, it allows you to practice it. Just like I talked about in my Jin video before with Jin's Hell Sweep, it is very quick, but it still is reactable. It's a move that's unlike any of the other moves in his moveset, so it's very easy to pick apart on when it's going to be used. This move is a really odd one because originally I was able to step this move just fine, but now I'm having problems sidewalking and sidestepping this to either side. So For right now, I'm gonna say it's inconclusive and just say that you probably can't sidestep this move, and the best thing that you can do is either block low when you see it and react to it, or just take it. Everything else you really just can't do. There really isn't any other options other than just reacting to it or just taking the damage. And if you come across a Dragunov who is still spamming this move, you'll very quickly realize why you want to learn how to react to this move very quickly. It's going to be really hard to try and talk and react at the same time, so instead I'm going to kind of talk over myself while I'm showing these examples to show that yes, it is reactable, yes, I have been able to react to it. Is it consistent? Not 100%, but all you need is one block and you get a stagger low block and half their health bar for the round. The way that we're reacting this move specifically is we're looking for that right hand. When that right hand goes above, it almost creates a triangle above Dragunov's head. That's when we're going to be ducking low. When playing neutral against Dragunov, do note that you will either be at a slight advantage or a slight disadvantage based on the map that you get. If you have walls, you'll need to try your hardest to keep your space from Dragunov, and be wary if you decide to press against him. A bad Dragunov will instantly approach with while running too, and you can very easily tell when he's going to because the stutter steps that he starts to make when he's approaching because he's trying to do all the forward inputs. This can be easily beat, like I said, just by sidestepping and launching for good damage. But what if he's aware we're trying to keep him out? At this point, it all really comes down to careful space control. Watching when and where you decide to press is key to snuffing out Dragunov's key moves to approach, and it frustrates him into making a mistake that we can easily sidestep and punish. A good mental note with neutral to consider is as long as you're within 2.50 whatever units this game uses away from Dragunov, that's technically where you want to be. Any closer and you risk getting blown up at just about any moment. You can always create more distance in this as well, but the problem is if you make it too obvious you're trying to keep space from him, a smart Dragunov will continue to press forward and pressure you at wall. This isn't nearly as big of a deal if you're at any of the stages where walls are far from each other, but it doesn't mean that it's completely out of the question, especially with Dragunov's wall carry. Which brings us into the next and very important aspect on how to beat Dragunov. You need to take risks, especially against Dragunov. There are a couple of hard counters to common Dragunov playstyles that I'll talk about now. Keep in mind that a Dragunov player can have any number of these tendencies, and it's your job as a player to figure out what tool is right for the job, if any, at that given moment. If a Dragunov is grabbing a bunch, or maybe they're spamming a bunch of lows, a well-timed hop kick will beat out both of those options. Most hop kicks are only -12 to -13, so check what your character's is to make sure you won't get launched for it. And if it won't, it might be worth it to throw out a few hop kicks, even if it's just to show the Dragunov that he can't press buttons for free. Another thing, if a Dragunov player is grabbing a lot, learning your grab breaks will be crucial to fighting a good Dragunov. He has a full throw game that can be extremely dangerous. If a Dragunov constantly uses while running to back to back to back on you, do know that you can interrupt with a launch of your own. However, treat this more of a 50-50. If Dragunov does while running 2 into another while running 2, it's fake pressure and you can launch him. However, if he does while running 2 just into down forward 2, he'll beat out every option that you have. Outside of sidestep right, of course. His options will always come out quicker, so pay attention to these patterns on how Dragunov is using his while running 2, and make estimated guesses based on what he's most likely to do after his first while running 2 from what you've seen of other instances. It's not much, but it more or less boils down to hop kick him if he's being stupid with his moves, break your grabs, and sidestep him right. Use this as a baseline to incorporate some of your own creativity and playstyle into how you tackle these situations. Just know that you have to take risks against good Dragunovs to establish that you aren't afraid of him and he can't get away with free chip damage and lows. So I've kind of already covered a little bit of the most important things to know when it comes to understanding sneak stance, but I wanted to do an entire section dedicated to it so I can specifically cover and explain to you guys that this stance is not nearly as scary as you might think it is, and there's only a couple of instances where you should actually be afraid of this stance. First things first, the most common ways that I see people enter sneak stance consistently is forward 3 into sneak, 2-1 into sneak, and full crouch 1-4 into sneak. Both forward 3 and 2-1 into sneak on block can be beat by sidestep right, all options, except for, obviously, if they do full crouch 1-4, or if they grab you like I talked about earlier. The only move that you realistically need to watch out for is full crouch 1-4. Meaning you pretty much have to take the entire next mix-up unless Dragunov uses sneak 4. From the testing that I could gather, this is the only move that you could sidestep, but even on hit, you can sidestep this move right. Do keep in mind, sidestep. You can sidewalk it, but you can also still just do one sidestep for it as well. Like that. This is the only move that, like I said before, this was the only move that I was able to sidestep when I was testing, and I could sidestep it extremely consistently. You basically want to minimize getting hit by this move as much as possible, because this is the very first sign that you are about to get your ass handed to you in pressure and chip damage. However, there are still a couple of things that the Dragunov can do that will mess up the pressure that you can get free damage from. However, there still are a couple of very common choices that I see Dragunov players make that actually end the pressure and you can interrupt. Taking control of Dragunov here just to show you guys this one thing. Do not let people get away with doing Sneak 3 into full crouch 1-4. This move, Sneak 3 specifically, is neutral on hit, and counter hit puts you in a significantly worse situation. But hey, at least you don't have to take full crouch 1-4 anymore. But yeah, like I was saying, on block, do not let people get away with this. It's neutral. Sneak 3 is, and full crouch down forward 1-4 comes out at 16 frames, I believe, so you can interrupt it with just about all of the launchers that you can imagine. Keep in mind though, you can't sidestep this move, so you will have to try and press to get away from it, or block low if you think it's coming. Remember, when we're fighting Dragunov, damage through pokes is not the goal when fighting Dragunov. The goal is to stop him from using these suffocating moves, giving ourselves the frame advantage, and making sure we hold that advantage to stop him from getting his advantage back, or to make a mistake to try and rush to get his advantage back and we capitalize on it. Finally, before the video ends, I want to go over a couple of really common, easy moves to punish with Dragunov. Anybody who is expecting more advanced stuff towards this end, this is definitely not for you. You might learn something, but these are basic moves that most people should know, and it's kind of the baseline of, if you don't know anything else, at least punish these. The first one's going to be Snake Edge from Dragunov. This very slow and very easily reactable move should never, ever be thrown out against you, because you get a stagger punish from it, so you get huge damage, and it comes out insanely slow, almost 30 seconds. Almost a half of a second is how long this animation is. If down back 3+4 was way too quick like I mentioned before, learning how to punish Snake Edge is very, very crucial. Multiple characters have this move, and you'll always run across to that one guy who is always trying to Snake Edge everybody, and still gets people because there are some people who just think it's not important to know this move. Next, very similar, it's back to 3+4. It's literally just back 2-1 into Snake Edge. Again, even more reactable to the last one, because there's nothing that they can do after back 2-1 other than this, or this crouch grab that he does. However, this actually comes out slower as well, and you're able to see it pretty easy. Meaning that if you duck and it doesn't come out when you think it is, just standing right back up will stop you from getting punished by this move. And you could still very easily electric punish something like this. Next, I see this move used very often. Back 4-1 is something you absolutely need to learn how to duck at the very end. The last hit is +1 for Dragunov on hit and is a high, so you could very easily duck and get great damage out of it. Do note that when Dragunov is in heat, he can do back 4-2 into the 1+2 grab, and it is considered unbreakable. However, you can both jump over this, do any move that interrupts this, which is usually going to be your punish that you were going to do in the first place if you're quick enough, or at the very least, if you see the grab coming, you could just hold full crouch, see if he goes for the grab, and dick jab him before he gets in, and if he doesn't, then you can just do your WoW Rising punish. It's not really something that you see a lot of Dragunov players do much anymore, but it's something that I want to mention because I've seen even JDCR pull it out in tournament, so it's something to pay attention to. The final move is a move that I see a lot of people struggle with because it's -5 for you, or +5 for the Dragunov, and leaves him in crouch, so it allows him to transition completely into full crouch 1-4 very, very easily without any punishing unless you throw out a jab to call him out for it. And at that point, he can just still do down forward 4, anything else, any full crouch move that will not get punished by that. However, the second hit of this, you can step insanely easy to the right. Like crazy easy to the right. Like so much that it's literally like switching sides for me. Hell, you could switch it both sides. You could literally sidestep this move just any way, shape, or form. So if you see a Dragunov going for 4-4, make sure to sidestep and punish, because you do not want to be eating that inevitable full crouch 1-4 that's going to be coming. That's going to be it for this tutorial, though. If you learned anything, please let me know down below in the comment section, and if I missed anything, let me know. I definitely will not be able to cover everything, and I couldn't cover everything in this video, because there's so much to learn about this character, and it's such a good character that it's hard to really put into perspective what I would even need to put all into a video. However, I put into this video what I felt is the most important thing to know, whether you're beginning out starting trying to punish this character, or you're in blue ranks, Tekken King, Tekken Emperor, and there's been a bunch of Dragunovs that have been giving you problems, and you just want some place to start your labbing experience. This isn't supposed to be an extensive guide, and this is not supposed to be an end-all be-all guide to everything, especially when things are changing. So pay attention to the date that this video has been uploaded, and if there was a patch, then obviously some of this information might be incorrect, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'd imagine the sidestepping properties is all going to stay the same. If you like this video and you want to see more content like it, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting down below what else you'd like to see. We just hit 2,000 subscribers and I could not be more happy. August 10th was the first ever video that I uploaded to this channel, so I can't believe barely a year later we're already at 2,000. We've gone so far already, guys, and I cannot be more thankful. But that's enough rambling for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.